2026 is going to be an awesome year. We got some pretty cool stuff coming up. First off, we got Foundations of Recovery. This is our flagship program. We're starting it in January.
This is for anyone, man, woman, or couple who wants to come and reclaim their heart from shame, trauma, and betrayal. We start off with an education on all sorts of principles, give you the common language. We feed you from a fire hose in terms of all things recovery.
It is such a great start to recovery. And we get at the roots of things, Tyler. This isn't like any other program. Like, this is our healing journey in process, and Foundations is where we begin.
If you look at the value that you're getting there to kick off a good recovery with all of the right education, all of the right language, and a team to get you started while also being directed by Brannon and myself through the whole process, what a deal.
So if you're interested, if you're struggling, if you've been wanting to do something for a long time, jump into this. This only comes around every so often, and we would love to have you there.
Click the link in the description to sign up for it. And to make it even sweeter, we're also including a raffle for a free pass to the Radiant Dawn retreat. Anyone who signs up for Foundations will be added to the raffle for that free Radiant Dawn pass. If you're a man and you sign up for Foundations, your name still gets entered, and you can give that pass away if you win it to any woman that you want to.
So what you're saying, Tyler, is if you sign up and participate in Foundations, you could possibly go to Radiant Dawn for free?
That's exactly what I'm saying, which is crazy because Foundations by itself is already an insane value.
Man, I sound so salesy. But it actually is awesome. So come to Foundations. And even if you don't come to Foundations, sign up for Radiant Dawn. It's beyond therapy, the best healing experiences that you can have.
Click the link below and come join us. I've experienced a change of heart, but how do I make it last? Welcome to the Therapy Brothers podcast.
I'm Brannon.
I'm Tyler.
We're brothers.
We're therapists.
And we know recovery.
Bring your stories, your questions, your successes with real recovery.
Hey, Tyler, you ready to have some hard conversations?
Let's do it.
Let the Therapy Brothers podcast begin.
What is going on, you guys? Tyler, your wandering therapist here today. Brannon is out again. He's still on vacation. And so it's me as the host today, but bringing on a different brother, my actual brother-in-law and business partner, and a lot of you guys have seen him before, Chase. So we'll be getting together with Chase and talking about this topic. But before I jump into that, I wanted to just throw a couple of things out there. Number one is we love to hear from you. If you'd like to become a caller on the show, therapybrothers.org would be the way to go. Sign up and leave a question for us. You can type in a question, or especially we would love to be able to talk with you about whatever it is you're going through in your own journey, your own healing, your own wholehearted pursuit. Any question is fine. We got some feedback that we don't do a very good job with certain different kinds of populations, and the truth is that we don't. We tend to have a lot of people from a lot of the same kinds of problem come join us, but we do have some expertise in other areas that we would love to be able to discuss, help with. And so if you don't think that we can help, then don't go leave reviews that we can't help without coming on and asking us. So come on and ask us. Let's have a discussion. And if we don't have the right answers, we'd love to still have the discussion and look for the right answers with you. So any topics you could talk about, parenting, or I think the feedback we got was that we don't do very well with people who are single trying to work recovery. The reason why is because nobody who's single will come on and talk with us. So come talk with us. Come talk with us. I think we'd actually probably have something of value for you. But anyway, we're glad to have you with us. We love having our listeners. We love your feedback. You can leave feedback either at that website in asking a question or coming on the show, or you can also leave feedback through the reviews if you would leave us a review anywhere where you're listening to the show. All right, today we're going to talk a little bit about change. We talk a little bit about lasting change. You know, most of us have experienced the kind of change that happens in the head where you go to a seminar, you go to school. This is the way I got through all of my school. This is probably an indictment on me. But I'm really good at retaining logical information. And I can learn that information, but a lot of times translating the logical information down into actually integrating it into my life and my heart is a whole different story. And that's where we believe actually lasting change happens. So we're going to talk a little bit today about people. Sometimes we get this question where they go and they have a pretty powerful emotional experience. And it's almost like it happens in reverse where the emotional change starts to shift, but then they worry about being able to integrate that change into their lives in ways that are going to be positive moving forward and permanently. So, Chase, good to have you on the show today, man.
Yeah, it's good to be here. Does anybody watching the video portion not get annoyed at how often you shake your freaking table?
I know. I was like, I don't know if we have that many people watching the video, but I will try to keep my hands off of the desk the rest of the time. My hands are now going into my pockets, Chase.
It's not a distraction for me at all.
I think I need to get some kind of anchors to take, because I've got this it's like this portable desk that you got me.
Yeah, that's right.
But every time I touch it, it shakes the screen. So I'm gonna have to anchor this into my normal desk or something.
Oh man, sorry. Also, one other quick aside. What would be cool is if we had a roast of the Therapy Brothers sometime. So if you want feedback, you'd have some kind of live stream where people can call in and speak their mind for a second about how you guys show up.
That actually would probably be a pretty fun episode. People could come and tee off on us. Just make sure it's a week that Brannon's in charge and I'm out of town or something.
Yeah, exactly. You're up in Alaska fishing.
That would actually be pretty fun to kind of do that sometime.
It really would.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've got a long list myself. I try not to take all the time, but no, I'm just messing with you. But so we're just coming off the heels of this retreat, and I'm sure your listeners are so tired of hearing about it by now, but it's it's kind of like an LDS missionary being like, well, on my mission. Okay, enough of that. But really, there's some recency to it, and so and this last one that we did had almost like a particular fire about it, where there was so much of that emotional shift that you were describing. And then, it's like, send everybody back home. Good luck to you. I wish you the best as you try and integrate everything that you just learned and felt and these newly formed beliefs. And usually what we hear is that people fall flat on their face, come Monday. And it's this interesting process, this give and take. And I've heard about it. One of my favorite musicians, Yo-Yo Ma. Do you know who that is?
Yes, not like you do, but yes, I know who that is.
Not like I do. And actually, one funny little story about Yo-Yo Ma is that I used to think Yo-Yo Ma was a woman because it was Yo-Yo Ma. And I was like,
oh gosh, Chase.
Yeah, I didn't know. Then I saw him performing and I was like, oh man, this is making a lot more sense. But he is a master, a true master when it comes to playing the cello, like top 5 in the world. And one of the things that he's talked about when it comes to integrating this skill set of his in developing mastery is that it takes time and it takes practice. And, so I could hear the cello and be like, wow, that did something to me. First time I ever heard it, I remember just this feeling of there is some depth and richness and it touches my soul in a way. And then I go touch a cello and I try doing the same thing that he's doing, and it is not going to sound quite right, It's going to sound perfect for where I'm at, but the disparity between what I can do and what I know is possible, that's a big disparity. And I think sometimes we get discouraged, and I think I know I get discouraged at times. Um, and that's something that it takes practice and effort to integrate some of these new beliefs. So like what have you seen is people are coming back, and not even just with this most recent retreat, but your experience with people having some kind of emotional breakthrough and being like, aha, but then they stumble and they trip and they're like, oh, what's the point?
Yeah, man. I'm glad we're talking about this because it seems to happen in a couple of different ways. Usually, it feels like there's all of the rational, like, hey, I learned the skills. Like, I know I need to do my daily charge. I need to do mindfulness. I need to have a team. I need to be cultivating. And I'll start doing those things, but I don't quite have the heart that fully like sees the vision yet. And then in other ways, once in a while, and this is what happens at the retreat, and this is why we're talking about it in that sense, is sometimes you go and you have a really powerful, call it spiritual or emotional experience, but then there's not the logistical tools to hold that shift in place. And that's kind of what we're talking about now. And then what ends up happening is, like you say, the catch of vision. I remember this multiple times in my life, multiple times, probably maybe hundreds at this point. I've gone to some place and had an experience. And after that experience or in the midst of it, I feel something shift in me. And then I have this almost like vision come out like, I'm going to go home and I'm going to do this and this and this. And this is how I'm going to live my life again. And then, like you said, Monday morning rolls around and the alarm clock goes off and the old habit loop just grabs a hold of you. And now all of your now it's almost its own form of additional pain and suffering because I felt and knew something better. And it's that whole scripture, the spirit was willing, but the flesh is weak, you know? like and then I shame myself for it. So then I like throw my hands up and I'm like, oh, all is lost. So I go to have this powerful experience over this weekend. I go home to real life, to having to go back to a job or school or whatever else it is, to go back to helping to manage life with a marriage and a family and everything else. And my habit loop grabs a hold of me. And now there's this, now the powerful experience that I had is actually the thing that's like taunting me and being like, yep, but you still suck. Like you use proof. This is proof that you're just a failure because everybody else had these amazing experiences and you almost wish you wouldn't have had the experience because you don't want it to torment you that you should be something different. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so part of the work is actually letting that experience be a part of a process. Let it be a call up to continued change and practice rather than an indictment of how horrible you are.
Amen. Yo-Yo Ma calls that process punctuated equilibrium. I did a master class just learning about music theory with him, and it was interesting him talking about how there's these points where we kind of go like this. We go up and down along this axis of we're improving and we kind of have a failure, improving a setback, but then there's these moments where it seems like we have a jump like into the next level. We bump up. Maybe it's like what you're talking about with the retreat. You have this moment of elation or epiphany and revelation, and then you're at this level, and then you kind of jostle around at that level for a little bit. And that seems to be how life goes a lot of the time. Is that it's never just, well, I learn and now this is my level and I stay at this level and I continue moving up. It's always a back and forth process. So one of the books that has been really influential, this is one that you recommended to me. I don't know, maybe you got it from Fred Rogers, that documentary. Anyway, it's called Deep and Simple by Bo Lozoff, and he's an interesting character. He served in prison systems to help support kind of in a pastoral sense. An interfaith pastor is how I'd qualify him. But there's this first chapter, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I do want to read a couple of things out of it that I think are really relevant and impactful. And the first one is just talking about practice. Says a belief or an attitude is a great first step, but we must follow it with regular practice. We must remind ourselves of what we believe in. We must find ways to deepen and strengthen those beliefs. We must see how they hold up under pressure. We must make spiritual practice part of our ordinary life experiences throughout each day. And I mean, that's hitting on exactly what you were saying earlier. It's like you can go and have forged this whole new identity, but how does it perform like once you're back into real life? Like it's great to step away and kind of be able to breathe and have these breakthroughs. But if you can't become something different in day-to-day living, then how much of a breakthrough really was it? And that's one of the struggles that I experience all the time. So um, I love the idea of being reminded of our own beliefs though, and our values. Like what's been your experience with remaining true to your values? Like how do you do that on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, I really love what you shared from the book there, Chase. It actually kind of lines itself up really well with sort of how we developed the Reclaim Your Heart platform, and particularly the healing journey that's inside that platform. The whole first section of that course is geared towards this idea of what you were just describing as the methods of practice. We talk about sort of the basics of recovering your heart from shame, trauma, betrayal, addiction, whatever else. Really, it's about shame and trauma. The practices in the first section, there's really four main cornerstones that we teach, and then that we reinforce to be committed to over and over and over and over and over again, not to be perfect, but to be in practice, right? And those things are one, building and cultivating the right heart, which comes through your daily charge. Two, eliminating the things that are actually distractions and taking your time and energy that aren't effective for you. That's your lines of defense. And then you have the building of your team, which is making sure you always have a few people in your inner circle that know exactly what you're working on to both provide empathy and accountability. And then the fourth part of that is mindfulness practice, so learning to become more conscious about the way that you're choosing to live your life and what you're producing in your life. And then inside of that mindfulness, the other tool that we teach that I think needs constant repetition is self-compassion. Right. And so if I'm cultivating those things, and we could go into each one of those could be their own episode, but if I'm living a life where I am committed to cultivating, that's different than being perfect at. But if I'm committed to cultivating those things, that's where some of that stuff in that book you're talking about, those spiritual practices, come in. I am now engaged in the kinds of things that strengthen my value system. They strengthen who I am. They let me become more aware of who I am. And then I can go and test those things in the furnace of what life has to offer me. Right. Now, where we mess up is that we practice those for like 2 weeks, like every New Year's, and then we fail, and then we think we're a failure, and then we stop the practice. And it's the actual returning to the practice that is part of the solution. It's we talked about this in one of our men's groups last week, but the way that I was taught is that we learn something usually through our heads first, and something clicks and we're like, oh yeah, I want to do that or change that or change that. And then we make a new commitment, and then we step into what's called awkward application. And that's where the new changes that we're trying to implement, it's like you trying to play the cello, Chase, right? Like it would be like me trying to play any musical instrument. Like you hear the beautiful cello music, and then you get your hands on a cello and you think you're cool if you can tap it and make it like keep a beat that like is that hollow sounding thump, because you just don't know what else to do. Most of us give up at that point. But the person who goes through the awkward application and learns a few chords and then learns a melody and then learns to play and then they start to become proficient. It goes from awkward application to a skill acquisition, and from a skill acquisition to a habit. And of course, the habit eventually starts to become part of what we feel like is our character, right? So instead of failing, there's a lyric in a song that I really like called Fear by Blue October. The lyric says, I used to fall, now I get back up. It's like when I can start to shift my focus to, of course, I'm going to fall and fail, and I'm going to get back up and I'm going to recommit and I'm going to keep going and I'm going to practice. Because practice, they always say practice makes perfect. And then people say perfect practice makes perfect. But what I would say is that practice, regardless of anything else, brings growth. And so I don't know if I'm even speaking to what your original.
No, you're right in a similar vein of thought. I also have a song that came to mind. It's called "Practice Makes Progress," and I know I've shared this one with you in the past, but
I think that you posted that to our actual platform on Reclaim Your Heart.
I did. I love that song. It's so dang good. But one of the lines in it is, "Practice makes progress. I let go of the outcomes and I stay focused on the process." And that seems to be where I have the hardest time, is when I get so fixated on what I want out of it. Like, I want it to be perfect. I don't want to mess this up again. Like, again, I don't want to mess it up again. I've learned everything I need to know. Now I'm just going to go do it and I'm going to get it right the first time. Here we go. Like that's problematic thinking. And we can get in our own way. Something else you were mentioning just about like those 5 different areas, the mindfulness, the team building, the self-compassion, dailies, bottom lines, or lines of defense. Each of those, like, without the awareness piece, is going to be a struggle. It's going to be cumbersome. Like, one of the things that mindfulness does is teaches you how to be more aware of right now, like what's going on right now in this exact moment. I know for me, for example, like I have some awareness that there's some tension in my body. Like, this is going out to people beyond just the two of us. It's not just a regular conversation. Like, that's kind of hard for me to wrap my head around, but it's also, there's some fear of like, I don't want to misspeak and I don't want to look like a totally bumbling fool, or and I want to provide some value, and there's all of these things going on. But I whenever there's an added level of what seems important to me or lines up with my values, I feel greater tension in my body to get it right. Like, I just want to get it right. I also noticed that my breathing patterns, they kind of suck whenever I feel this kind of tension. It takes me a second to finally find a good rhythm and remind myself, hey, just breathe, keep breathing. It's okay. Take some of that needless burden off, lower some of those expectations. And what's so cool about practice is that a year ago, I probably didn't have that level of awareness. And a year from now, I'm probably going to have, if I keep this up, an even greater awareness. And not just the awareness piece, but what you're talking about is application of tools using your awareness, like knowing when to use the hammer, knowing when to use the scalpel, knowing when to pick up the phone and call somebody, and each of those things, knowing when to just sit and do some deep breaths. That by itself is such a gift and a turning point when it comes to integrating these new behaviors, right?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, even just you doing that practice here right now as we speak, right? That here you are talking about consciousness by becoming conscious of your current process, and then demonstrating what that allows you to do that you otherwise wouldn't have been able to do in the past.
Mm.
Right. That's and I think, a couple of thoughts here to go along with this in terms of like how to cultivate it. One is this very principle here, which is, I think there's some merit sometimes to, we as human beings, we tend to really slant towards everything that's broken most of the time. Because that's kind of how we've survived in our lives. Like that's how that's how we've developed as a species, is any negativity, keeps us safe in some ways. And so we kind of have turned that into our own self-criticism too, in some ways, which is really interesting. But I think what you just did there is an actual skill that can be very beneficial. I call it the snapshot approach, which is, if I look, let's just say right now, across my own personal journey of, say, recovery, if I measure myself yesterday versus today, the change is going to be so small that I might be discouraged by it. In fact, it might even be like the stock market, where I actually have a dip and I'm actually worse today than I was yesterday, right? Like that could entirely be possible. That's hopefully not the goal. But if I were to take snapshots and say, okay, D-Day happened for me, which is where I would consider really the shock to my system that really kicked off real recovery. That was almost 2 decades ago sometime. I don't remember the exact date. If I were to go a year ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, in terms of where my current life is at, in terms of being congruent with the man that I want to be versus where I was then, that bell curve of difference is massive.
Mm.
And that's actually encouraging, because I can now see the trend upward. And now all of a sudden, it's like, you know who Simon Sinek is. He uses the analogy of the brushing of the teeth. He's like, what happens when you brush your teeth today? Pretty much nothing. Like, almost nothing happened when you brushed your teeth today. Because you brush your teeth every day, and the brushing of the teeth every day is what actually keeps the good dental hygiene going. But you're doing something that actually, in the grand scheme of things, is not massive, except that it produces massive results over time. And so I'd encourage anyone listening, if you're looking at changes you're trying to make in your life, if you're committed and you're committed to a process, if you look at the snapshots over time, that'll be much more encouraging than just the snapshot of today. And then we had a comment here just in the live chat here while we were recording. I think this is actually really good, of how to hold on to it. Talking about the change emotionally. I agree. I find sharing, this is, I think, Black Rose 13. I agree. I find sharing the experiences help to keep them alive in my heart. And I think there's merit to actually sharing maybe in multiple ways. One would be in your own journal, your own personal use, but then also finding the right people to share those changes with. Just by nature of sharing them out loud, they reinforce into your own system, and they naturally become a form of accountability because you just outwardly spoke some of the things that you're working on. And so I think that was a great suggestion. Thank you, Black Rose.
Hey, that's Undertaker. Shout out to that guy.
Oh, that's the Undertaker.
Yeah, that's
him. All right, Undertaker. It's good to have you with us, man. Us. Yeah. Appreciate the comment.
Yeah.
I did not know that was his call name.
Yeah, he needs to update it.
Now we have like a whole bunch of people wondering who the Undertaker is, and it's not the wrestling guy.
Yeah, he's way better than that guy. Real quick, I wanted to kind of in that same vein of how do you hold on to it. I was going to ask you about mantra. Early on in your practice with your therapy practice here, didn't you have some kind of mantra that you would apply regularly especially when you were getting kicked around and beaten throughout the day? And like, what do you remember what that was?
You might have to remind me if it's not the one you're thinking of, but this was tied to for me to like self-compassion, the practice
Yeah.
of self-compassion. Like I always had this, and I don't know if anyone will relate to this, but you can all pick your own favorite core belief that beats you up and pick your own. But mine was, Tyler, you're a failure. Right. And I decided that every time I felt my sense of failure, which was my shame, I'd feel it in my chest, I'd feel it in my face, I'd feel it flush. And then I'd feel my body want to close in on itself, and then I'd be like, Tyler, you suck at this, or oh man, your clients missed out on that, or you should have said this, or you failed them this way, or you did. Like the brain would kick on. I decided every time I felt my shame that I was going to practice the self-compassion, and so I would actually take my hand, put it over my heart, and feel the warmth of my hand go into my heart, and then I would say, Tyler, the truth is that you're a work in progress. You're a force for good. God is designing you to be exactly who you're supposed to be in this moment, and you don't have to be a finished product today. And then I say this to my clients all the time, but I love the idea that I get to grow until I die. And I remember doing that like almost probably 20, 30, maybe sometimes 100 times a day. The shame was so rampant, and it felt so stupid. Like the practice, we're talking about practice.
Yeah.
That practice, I mean, even saying it out loud, I know there's people that are like, oh, dude, like
Easy.
cheesy, that's so stupid. Or do you remember when we did
I know what you're about to say. Yeah.
What am I going to talk about?
You're going to talk about the bean in the sock.
That's right. Like we did the UCAP presentation. So we presented at the Utah Coalition Against Pornography. I was the speaker, and you were the guy who made me look good with my presentation. That was like back in like 2017, and we were like a little unorthodox in our presentation. And I think I remember a slide that actually shows you a hand-drawn sock, like a calf-high sock, like the ones I wear, with a little bean inside of it. And the exercise that we passed out like beans to every single person at the presentation.
100 the beans.
It was like 500 people. We made them all take a bean, and then we talked about like the possibilities of that seed, that bean, like what could it possibly become, and ultimately it could become its own bean that then produced hundreds of other beans in the future. Its possibilities were limitless, right? So we're talking about all this, and then we told everybody to take the bean that we'd given them and put it in their sock. And every time that they got annoyed that that bean was there, like on their foot or in their ankle or whatever, and it was like rubbing that, like causing a blister or something, every time you noticed the bean, to practice the mantra. So you're practicing that mantra like 100 times a day, because every time you're like, oh, why did I put that bean in my sock? Like, oh, the truth is that I have limitless potential. Like
Put my hand over my heart.
I'm gonna practice that. And like that sounds so cheesy. But you know what, Chase? Like that practice, not only done logistically, but done eventually logistically paired up with hope, eventually paired up with willingness, eventually paired up with desire, which is that emotional shift. Guess what happens when you look in the mirror after a while? When I look in the mirror, I more often see a work in progress and a force for good rather than a schmuck who fails everybody. The belief system itself not only changed rationally, but it changed emotionally, and it came through cheesy practice.
Yeah.
Cheesy practice of being in the sock.
Yeah. I love that so much. I mean, I actually, I've got my own different practices, but that one I haven't done since then. I probably need to throw a bean in my sock and see if I can get that thing to germinate.
If you think about it,
it's
got enough heat and moisture.
Yeah.
So the only thing it probably needs is a little red light therapy. You're probably good.
Sunlight. That's great. One thing about your story too that I had this kind of realization as you were sharing it, that you started this therapy practice here in Logan, and it was the perfect ground for cultivating that kind of shame resiliency for you yourself. But this place is called a practice. Like, how cool is that? It's called a practice, and not a therapy perfect or any other thing. It's called a practice, and it's the grounds to be able to try a different way of thinking, try a different belief system, to apply some of these things. And so that I think that there's something that's kind of cool and beautiful about that.
That's something that I really love about what you've brought to like what we do at our practice is we have tried some really interesting things to see if they would be helpful to people. Like go to a national conference and tell people to put a bean in their sock. Like we've done a lot of experiential things here at our practice. Some of them have been more beneficial for people than others. But the only way that you find what's going to work is the willingness to step in and practice, knowing that some of those things are going to fail.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's something that I've actually really always appreciated about having you be an influence in my life personally is I sometimes feel like I'm more of the brakes and you're the gas pedal. But
Better or worse, yeah.
but you're willing to go step in and be like, hey, let's try this thing. And the energy that you approach that with is actually more of like and if we fall flat on our face, no, fine, we'll learn. Like that's what we're going to do is we're going to learn until we get it right. And that approach to life, I mean, you guys think about this who are listening, like if you relate to me, I'm like the fixed mindset guy that needs to have it perfect in order to go do it versus somebody who's got the growth mindset, which says, I don't have no clue what I'm doing, but I'm going to do this and then I'm going to learn and then I'm going to do this and then I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. You'll notice an instant difference in the rate of progress when it's approached from that practice mindset.
Mm. You know, something else we're kind of talking about on a deeper note is faith. Like the reason you practice something is because you believe that there's even a possibility that you could become that thing. That to me is so beautiful, and what you were just hitting on. There's another quote from Deep and Simple. This is the chapter When Everything Goes Wrong. He's talking about faith. He says, faith is a profound acceptance of life's ultimate goodness, no matter what happens. That every genuine spiritual path has more to do with our response to things going wrong than with our problems being magically corrected. It's like that's exactly what practice is. It's a demonstration of faith and courage, leaning
Uh,
in every time you feel like giving up.
Under
You have
pressure,
to
it's what you said earlier about from the other quote of testing those new beliefs against the pressure that life brings, basically.
Mhm.
And that's where the practice before the pressure is important, so that when the pressure does come, we see how it actually does hold up. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And that idea of faith, I think there's an element, if you look at it from like recovery terms, I think faith goes a lot with other principle terms that we use like surrender and acceptance.
Mm.
Right? That life is beautiful and perfect as it is. Like have that sit on you for a minute. Like anyone listening, like look at all of your challenges. Faith would be an acceptance and surrender to what is rather than what should or shouldn't or could or couldn't be, and then making your choices based off of your values inside of what is. Like, whoa, there's some implication there. There's a ton of potential learning and growth there.
It really is. I, as you were saying that, I call you Pat. and it's a special name for me to call you that. I felt some stirrings, and I just want to vocalize this that um, it might take me a second to get the vocal box unlocked a little bit, but um, I felt so much trust from you. You've been in my life in a pretty tremendous way for a long time, since I like saying, a little chubby 10-year-old boy. You've been, married to my oldest sister, but you've been more and more significant in my life all the time as a brother and as a mentor. Um, and I feel the same type of love and connection for Brannon. I've loved watching the two of you grow, and this is pretty personal, to be able to witness the two of you doing this thing together, and all the random conversations, podcasts, and every other thing that you guys have done. But I I wanted to just say that I feel a tremendous amount of trust from the two of you, and what that does to me when it comes to my own willingness to practice is that I try harder. Like, and not because I want to appease you guys or anything, but I just feel love and faith in me. And that makes this process so much more doable, beautiful, supported. And the the thread of truth that I want to share with anybody that's listening is, get some people in your corner. Like, if you don't have that, find them. Like, you want to integrate some beliefs, you want to make these changes to the way that it's possible. Like, and not just possible, but just fun. Like, I felt like I've had so much fun in this journey having brothers. I've also felt like in my deepest despair that I wasn't alone. All the times that I tripped up, mess up, I have somebody that's there that says, "Hey, you can do this, and it's okay." If you don't have somebody that's doing that, or that you're doing that for, go find your people. Like, that's worth it by itself. If you disregarded everything else that we talked about today, but you went and found your people that could help you practice, like, that would be life changing.
I think that's its own really great suggestion, Chase. And I just want you to know that the feelings are mutual. What you spoke about trust, I think, applies not just to other people, but to that continued wrestle with a higher power, someone bigger than ourselves too, of being able to put trust into something bigger than ourselves. When you have the support of the wrestle with something bigger, or someone bigger, of God, and then you have the team to help push you into that unknown place, that really is where life is rich. It's vibrant, it's full, it's colorful. And it's funny that you bring this up, Chase. Like, we've known each other for as long as I've been married to your sister, right? You won't remember this. I have told you this before, but I remember this clear as day. The very first time I met you, when we went out to Georgia to meet you, where you guys were living, and your papa was there, your mama and your papa came, and they were driving around. I think it was like a turquoise blue van, like big Astro van.
Oh yeah.
Massive Astro van. And he's like the most interesting character anyway. But anyway, I'm sitting there and I'm just kind of barely starting to get to know you. And you were exactly right. You were just a little chubby face, like probably, how old were you? Had to be like 11.
Yeah, somewhere in there. Yeah.
You had to be like 11. I'm sitting next to you. We're driving somewhere with like your papa driving like nobody's business. in this van. We're all wondering if somebody's going to kill us because he's like such a bad driver.
Slow as balls. Yeah.
Slow, just terrible.
So
Like,
slow.
yeah, like so. And I look over. I'm sitting next to you, and you're gazing out the window with these fat little cheeks and this like pensive look on your face. And then I'm like, "What's going on?" And he's like, and then you turn to me like, and you kind of turn to me like, still with this kind of pensive look. You're like, "I just wonder how I can do the best good in the world." Like, I just wonder what I could do to do the most good in the world. This little like 11-year-old fat faced kid. And now here we are like, a quarter of a century later, and on the regular we sit down together in the office, and I still see that little kid like, are we doing the best we can in the world? Like,
Hey, full disclosure, I might have been thinking about Mariah Carey's butt.
I do know that at that point in time you love Mariah Carey.
I did, yes.
But I don't think that's not the look that I saw in your face in that moment. So, anyway, man, I think that's been one of the beautiful things, is that we've got enough time under the bridge with each other now. And I know that you call me Pat for a reason with a name, and you have your own name called name Sunrise, and you've shared some of that story, but there's more to it as well. To your point, part of where those names have been derived has been through the shared experience with your brothers, with your team, where you start to actually uncover and unfold the truth about who you really are in God's eyes, instead of living the lie anymore. And when you have supportive people who will, in essence, because of the way that they support you and love you and hold you accountable, they invite you into the space of manifesting the truth of who you are, upping your game, engaging in the practice, going back after you fail. I love it. I love it when guys come to group, and they've gone and done something, and they come back and it's not perfect. And it's like, whoa, that one kind of like blew up in my face. It's like, hallelujah. Like, way to go, man. I'm so glad you're in the game. Like, let's learn from this. Like, how do we learn from this? Yeah. Right. And, man, when you adopt that way of living, and then you put the right pieces in place with the team and with the wrestle with higher power, those practices kind of take on a different meaning than just the checklist you're supposed to do to not act out. And then life opens up its possibilities. So,
amen to that. I was just thinking about, my own wife. She's Chelsea's amazing, and part of what makes her amazing is that she has had a group of women, a sisterhood of women that she's cultivated these relationships, and it's done exactly what you said. Just that balance of somebody who can empathize with you and say, hey, I see the pain that you're in. I'm so sorry for this pain. And maybe that same person or somebody else saying, hey, get your shit together.
Like, come on, you don't have to wallow around in that anymore.
Yeah, you don't have to. Like, there's a different way forward.
Yeah.
And that, if you can find, people that provide that level of balance and support, and you can be vulnerable with them and feel safe and held, like, oh man, magic, just pure magic. Yeah.
It's awesome. It's happening even right now. We got another comment from Spoons here. It says, I feel lucky to be able to see this conversation. Spoons is one of the guys that's on both of our teams, and hopefully he feels the support the way we feel it from him. And man, it gives you permission to go into an otherwise really scary world and experience your failures in a totally different way. Yeah. And man, how lucky. Think about if you were raised by a parent who pushed you into a place that was a little bit over your head, and then after you failed was celebrating with you the growth that you're going to have. How many people have that in their life, do you think? Not many.
Yeah,
Not many. And so when we get a whole bunch of people running around avoiding the place where there would be the most optimal growth because they can't stand the thought of failing, because if they fail, they're going to be criticized, or they're going to be let down, or they're going to be alone, or they're going to be a failure, or nobody's going to want to be with them. And they rob themselves of the arena that they've been giving to have the best life possible through the failures, through the practice. So, anyway, Chase, Sunrise, thank you. Thanks for coming on today and having this discussion. Any last thoughts that you want to add?
Um, well, one shameless plug is that I do a mindfulness practice every Thursday on our platform. A community call is online, and with that, like I am so much more a student way before I am a teacher in this domain in particular. But I love it, and it has learning how to practice individually and then share it with others, or practicing stillness together. That's something that is significant. If you don't have a space to do that, then please come join us sometime.
That's through reclaimyourheart.org.
Yeah, yep, exactly. And then the last thing is, like, time wise, I had it in my heart at the very beginning to maybe share a prayer. And I know this is random, but I think part of where this is stemming from is a desire to encourage people who feel like giving up. So, would that be all right if I offer a quick prayer?
Go for it. That'd be great.
Yeah. Before we jump into the prayer, if you're listening to this, if you could kind of slow down, if you're in an environment where you're able to do that, and just take a few deep breaths. No particular pattern or rhythm, but just take a few deep breaths before we jump into a prayer. And I'd invite you to open up your heart a little bit in whatever way, however you interpret that, and to soften and open up. Dear God, um, we are grateful. We're grateful to exist, grateful to breathe, grateful for our feelings and emotions, even the painful ones. We're grateful for our depth, our discernment, and particularly we are grateful for contrast. We ask for guidance at this time. We ask for strength. We ask for love. We ask for self-compassion in places where we are so quick to shut ourselves down. We ask for grace in this process, knowing that we're imperfect, knowing that we're going to fail and mess up and screw up in abundance. But we ask for grace. Please help us to overcome, to get up. Please help us remember. Please help us remember. Remember who we are, remember our purpose, our identity, our personal calling. Please help us to hear and to respond. Please bless all those that are struggling with their own faith, with this wrestle, their faith in their own abilities. Please bless them. Please help us to feel your love. In the name of Christ, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Chase.
Yeah.
Thank you for being on here and for bringing your just genuineness and heart that you bring to just the way you approach life. Thank you to our listeners who are here with us and who are in whatever struggles you are in. Know that, at least in spirit, you are not alone. And that there are people, even total strangers, who would relate to whatever you're struggling with and who want the very best for you. And hopefully you're able to will that into the lives of other people as well. So if this is meaningful or beneficial, please feel free to share it with other people. And until next time, you guys, keep on keeping on.